You can't just go serious, goofy. I just saw 28 years later, and here are some quick thoughts. No spoilers. Let's just start with the positives. I still think the infected are scarier in the first film, 28 Days Later. The choking sounds that they make, how the actors move, and the shutter speed that was utilized, they are terrifying. Saying that, the infected here still feel very much like a threat. I love the alpha concept that's introduced in this film, and I love the fact that he has a signature move that will feel very familiar if you played Mortal Kombat. The best scene in this movie is probably the chase sequence that happens in the first act. It's panicky and yet rhythmic as the two leads are firing their arrows at strategic times. It's also a good example of characterization through action. This is what I'm always talking about. You don't need to stop the action dead, lock people in a room, and start having them spit exposition at each other. We don't get that as much here in the first half. We witness a tough love survivalist father-son relationship that's kind of reminiscent of God of War 4 through the actions on this mission. I'm happy to see when movies swing big. And sometimes the experimentation works in this film. There are these moments in 28 Years Later that show what the infected did prior to the current scene. They're kind of like gory memories, and they're all bathed in what looks like red night vision. Very intense and suspenseful. Let's see, more positives. Good production design. Everything looks lived in, and what doesn't look lived in looks wild and overgrown by nature. The work with the sets, the props, all of it look fantastic, and I think the art direction in general is very strong in this film. Director Danny Boyle proves again that he knows what he's doing as far as setting up shots. There's angles from above, from underneath, close-ups, wide shots, experimenting with depth of field. What I really like is that many shots have bits of the landscape interrupting the frame, like blades of grass or a tree branch, and that keeps us in the environment. It reminds us that nature has reclaimed everything. Thank God for Ralph Fiennes, who predictably gives a great performance. It's like an injection of interest into the movie. All the bad things about to say about this movie, many of which I don't see people talking about at all, Ralph Fiennes' presence does his damnedest to save it. Yeah, let's get to some negatives. Number one, the music mostly sucks. The child acting was very rough in the intro, and I could actually see one of them start to laugh at one point. I'm going to agree with Moist Critical on the quick death cam shots that they use in this movie, which do not fit the movie's tone. You do all of that work with the iPhones, the rigs, and for what? For some very awkward death cams that mean nothing. They don't enhance the film, they're totally unnecessary. They turn what could be very intense horror scenes into like NFL replays. In general, I'm not a fan of the editing. There are just too many cuts, especially in the first half. Some make sense, other cuts are unmotivated and distracting. Quick cuts to other locations and it ruins it. In the first act, there are frequent cutaways to actual movies, and it's so unnecessary. It reminds me a bit of the films Any Given Sunday or Quantum of Solace, where a scene would cut back and forth to try to make some kind of point. It ends up hurting the overall effect rather than enhancing it because the viewer can't focus. I don't find it clever.
What the hell was that?
The ending is fucking horrible. It's like hubris. It's just watching the writer and director have fun and give middle fingers to the audience and just say, yo, deal with it. Here's a completely baffling farce of an ending that's also sequel bait. So it kind of has a bad taste along with just not being a good ending. It's not a good ending. You're gonna go to a theater, you're gonna pay money, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna watch it for 2 hours, you're gonna be bored for about an hour, and then the movie's just gonna kind of throw that at you and then cut to black. And what are you supposed to do? Stand up and applaud? No, you're not going to. You're just gonna sit there and going, what the fuck was that? And that is not a good feeling to have when you're watching a movie. It's like akin to a fucking Marvel stinger. Is it bold? Yeah, but it's a complimentary word. So I don't want to use the word bold. It's just random. With the exception of the movie The Devil Inside, I think this might be the worst ending to a horror film I think I've ever seen. It's up there. I think it's top 10. I don't know. It was like something out of Scott Pilgrim. Like, it's so bad. I heard it was bad, and then I saw it, and it was worse than I thought it was gonna be. Danny Boyle is known for switching up the tone in his movies that can put off the audience. But again, I'm not against this necessarily. It's all about how you justify the shift in the story and the filmmaking. Parasite's darker shift totally worked for me because it had established an unsavory foundation. It built up to that point. Here, the switch in the second half is kind of a catastrophe from pacing to writing. And if you're gonna make a kind of shift like that, if you're gonna make some bold narrative choice in your movie, make it good. One of the reasons I love 28 Days Later so much is because of how it balanced these shifts in tone. Scary, hopeful, cute, intense, and it all felt natural. It all served the overreaching plot. 20 Years Later is one movie, then another movie, and the second one is remarkably worse. I don't want to hear the same argument that I hear from Star Wars fans who, once they see Force Awakens' copy and paste approach, say, well, it's fine because it's the start to a franchise. And I say the hell with that. You make the best movie you can when you can. This isn't an appetizer. This is a meal that cost millions of dollars. Give me a good meal.
Jesus Christ!
Apart from Ralph Fiennes, the characters didn't capture my interest. One guy shows up and then disappears about 15 minutes later, which makes you wonder what the purpose of him even was. There's so many beats to this film that are trying to tug at your heartstrings, and they fail so hard. God, because there's not enough good buildup, the acting isn't strong enough for most of the cast, none of the dialogue sparks. Did you guys really care about the mom? Were you having palpitations because she might be in danger? Did the dialogue fester in your brain? Did you desperately want these people to succeed? And that's my biggest problem with the movie. It's not the ending, the mediocre music. It's not that it's a mess, which it is, but it's that it did such a bad job justifying all these choices. So by the end, I stopped caring. It's not intense enough, it's not dramatic enough, and it's not insightful enough. It's just a little bit of all these things, and they don't add up to a whole. At least, not for me. 6 out of 10. I definitely think there is a solid 45 minutes to an hour in this movie. I don't just want 28 Days Later again. I wanted a different film. I just didn't want a film that was this sloppy. 28 Years Later is a disappointment, but not a total failure. Being in the middle there feels worse. Yeah, pretty disappointed in this one, but I would love to know if you guys agree, if you don't agree, if you've seen it yet, if you might. Comment below. I would love to hear from everybody. Share the video, subscribe, check out the Patreon link below if you want some fun rewards, and as always, thanks for watching.